Napoleon ruled the battlefield, but one family ruled the game behind the scenes. This is how.
In 1744, in a narrow ghetto street, a child was born with no wealth.
His family envisioned a future of faith and scholarship, believing his life would be devoted to religion, not wealth or worldly ambition. The sudden death of his parents shattered that future, forcing him to abandon his studies and confront a harsher, uncertain reality.
In 18th century Europe, Jewish life was confined by walls, laws, and centuries of discrimination.
With few options left, Mayer entered a banking house, stepping into a world where numbers, trust, and discipline determined survival. Coins were more than money. They carried history, rarity, and prestige, and Mayer learned how knowledge itself could be traded for profit. At Frankfurt's trade fairs, Mayer encountered the wider world, where currencies, cultures, and ambitions collided in constant negotiation. Returning home, Mayer applied his growing expertise, transforming a small family trade into a reputation built on precision and trust.
Word of his rare coin expertise spread beyond the ghetto, drawing the attention of Europe's wealthy and powerful elites. For the first time, Mayer stood before aristocratic power, not as a servant, but as a man whose knowledge commanded attention. Among those impressed was the Crown Prince of Hesse, one of the wealthiest rulers in Europe, and a man deeply interested in finance. Mayer was appointed court factor, a rare and powerful position that placed a Jewish financier inside the machinery of royal power. For the first time, Mayer moved freely beyond the ghetto walls, carrying with him new protection, status, and opportunity.
With royal patronage secured, a small Frankfurt banking house began assembling a financial network designed to operate beyond.
Security in an unstable Europe required distance, diversification, and the ability to operate beyond any single city, ruler, or market. Europe was unstable, divided by rival powers, revolutions, and wars that could destroy fortunes overnight.
Rather than trust partners or paper contracts, Mayer placed his faith entirely in family loyalty.
His vision centered on his 5 sons, each destined to carry the family name into a different corner of Europe.
From Frankfurt, a network began to spread, designed not for one nation, but for an entire continent.
London was different. It was chaotic, competitive, and rapidly becoming the financial heart of the world.
Paris offered influence, culture, and proximity to power, even as revolutionary tensions quietly simmered beneath the surface.
Vienna and Naples completed the network, placing Rothschild agents inside every major power center in Europe.
For the first time, a private family bank operated across borders faster than any government institution.
In an age before telegraphs, speed of information meant everything, and the Rothschilds mastered it.
As the 18th century drew to a close.
In France, revolution erupted, dismantling centuries of monarchy and unleashing forces no government could fully control.
Revolution soon gave way to war, and Europe entered decades of near-constant military conflict.
For skilled financiers, chaos did not mean collapse. It meant opportunity for those who could manage risk. Armies could not march, fight, or survive without enormous sums of money flowing behind the scenes.
Napoleon's campaigns transformed regional wars into a continent-wide struggle for dominance.
By maintaining neutrality, the Rothschilds ensured survival, lending where necessary while minimizing political exposure. In London, Nathan Rothschild emerged as the family's most formidable strategist, directing vast sums with precision and speed. As war dragged on, markets became volatile, reacting sharply to every rumor, defeat, and uncertain report from the battlefield. Each French victory triggered fear, and fear pushed bond prices downward as confidence in Britain wavered. Government bonds became Britain's financial lifeline, funding armies while exposing investors to enormous risk. Quietly and methodically, he began buying British bonds at deep discounts, betting on eventual victory. His advantage lay not in prediction alone,
but in information that arrived days before official reports. By 1815, Europe braced for a final confrontation that would determine the fate of Napoleon and the continent. Rothschild couriers delivered the news of victory to London before official channels could respond.
When victory became public, bond prices surged, turning patience and foresight into extraordinary financial gain.
Napoleon's defeat ended the wars, but Europe emerged exhausted, deeply in debt, and uncertain about its future.
As industrial capitalism reshaped society, anti-Semitic narratives cast Jewish financiers as symbols of modern anxiety. With peace came suspicion, and powerful financial families became targets of rumor, exaggeration, and fear.
Railways connected nations, accelerated trade, and turned industrial investment into political influence.
Rather than retreat, the Rothschilds adapted, investing in industries that would define the modern world.
Coal, iron, and steel became the backbone of Europe's industrial rise, and the Rothschilds invested deeply.
Alongside industry, the family invested heavily in philanthropy, funding hospitals, schools, and cultural institutions.
Without ruling directly, the Rothschilds exercised influence by controlling access to capital when nations needed it most.
After decades of war and expansion, European governments found themselves dependent on private capital to survive.
After defeat by Prussia, France relied on international private capital markets to meet reparations, restore confidence, and prevent economic collapse. When Britain needed funds to secure the Suez Canal, Rothschild financing enabled a deal that reshaped global trade routes.
With key trade routes secured, Britain strengthened its empire, linking Europe to Asia faster than ever before.
From mining to energy, control of key resources became central to maintaining global economic influence.
Across Africa, finance fueled railways, mines, and colonial expansion that reshaped entire regions.
Across the Atlantic, American industry expanded rapidly, supported by European capital and financial expertise.
The rise of oil empires like Standard Oil signaled a new age of corporate power and industrial concentration.
As wealth grew, so did efforts to invest in education, healthcare, and cultural preservation.
By the late 19th century, finance had become global, and the Rothschild network stood at its center.
As the 20th century dawned, technology and politics reshaped the world faster than any previous era.
Nationalism began to overpower international cooperation, placing transnational finance under growing suspicion.
In 1914, war returned on an unprecedented scale, engulfing Europe and shattering global stability.
Political change and war forced the closure of historic branches, including Naples and Frankfurt.
War disrupted financial networks built over generations, forcing even the most powerful banks to adapt or collapse.
The interwar years offered recovery, but political extremism and economic fragility lingered beneath the surface.
As Nazism rose, anti-Semitism was transformed into law. Jewish-owned assets were not merely stolen.
Homes, businesses, and artworks were seized, and many family members were forced to flee for survival.
The Second World War devastated Europe, but fragments of the Rothschild legacy endured through resilience and adaptation.
After the war, the world changed forever, and the age of old financial dynasties gave way to modern global systems.
In the post-war era, governments strengthened their grip on finance, reducing the influence of private banking dynasties.
After the war, Europe rebuilt itself, and old financial powers were forced to redefine their place in a new global order. In 1982, the French government nationalized major banks, ending the Rothschilds' historic role in Parisian banking.
With changing times, the age of traditional family banking quietly came to an end.
Rather than disappear, the Rothschild legacy evolved, adapting to a world of modern finance and global markets.
In the 21st century, finance moved at digital speed, reshaping how wealth and power circulate. In 2008, the family reorganized its holdings, reuniting historic branches under a single modern structure.
Today, the Rothschild name extends beyond banking into culture, agriculture, and global investment.
Over time, legends grew larger than reality, blurring the line between documented history and popular myth. In the end, the Rothschild story raises a timeless question about money, power, and how history remembers those who shape it.
Fasten loose links.
The story of the Rothschilds us that power rarely announces itself. It works quietly. From counting coins by candlelight to moving billions at the speed of code, finance has transformed beyond recognition. Behind the legend were real people, shaped by loss, ambition, fear, and the need to survive in uncertain times. For those who carry the name today, legacy is not just pride, but a responsibility shaped by centuries of history. Great influence often brings admiration, but it also attracts suspicion, controversy, and enduring debate.
In the long run, it is not wealth that endures most, but the institutions and values passed on to future generations.
Their story reflects a broader truth about modern finance, where power is dispersed across complex global systems. One family's decisions echoed across generations, shaping markets, nations, and the course of history itself. History does not give us simple answers, but it offers perspective on how power, ambition, and chance shape the world.
The Rothschild story does not end with history books. It continues wherever money, power, and ambition meet the future.
The Rothschild story does not end with history books. It continues wherever money, power, and ambition meet the future.
Some names fade into obscurity, but others remain etched in history, debated for generations.
Between headlines and history lie a careful search for truth, where evidence matters more than rumor.
What once belonged to families is now embedded in global systems that shape economies every day. In the modern world, the greatest influence often works quietly, far from public attention.
In the end, what remains is not just wealth, but the cultural and social marks left behind.
Every generation studies the past, searching for lessons that might guide the future.
Beyond every famous dynasty lies a larger story, shaped by millions of lives and choices. Narrow street in Frankfurt began a story that would travel across the world. History rarely ends. It moves forward, shaped by new hands and new ideas.
Every era ends, but the questions about power and influence remain for the next generation to answer.